Welcome to Operational Efficiencies with Bobbi Wells, Vice President of Safety, Environmental, and Regulatory Compliance with American Airlines. Bobbi also spent 28 years at FedEx, leading air safety, quality assurance, quality control, and airworthiness. So Bobbi also served 10 years in the U.S. Army as a major in logistics. Let's welcome Bobbi.
Hi everyone, my name is Bobbi Wells. I'm the Vice President of Safety, Systems, and Efficiency at American Airlines. I've been at American Airlines only 10 months. I came here from FedEx, where I was the VP of Safety and Regulatory Compliance. And before that, I worked in the operations at FedEx. I was at FedEx for 28 years, so a very long time. And before I went to FedEx, I served 10 years in the Army and ended up leaving the Army as a major.
Leadership is about growth, which happens at all levels of leadership, right? Leadership and learning go hand in hand. And as a leader, you cannot help others in your organization grow until you see the importance in growing yourself. Leaders are made through intentionality and improvement. Wells is going to share with us how we all can grow. Let's listen.
Leaders should be readers because leadership is all about growth. It's about learning, and no matter how smart you are, you can't possibly know everything. By reading books, you can expand your knowledge, your experience, your exposure, and it opens up the aperture of your mind to consider other avenues. Efficiency is an incredibly important part of business, and you might wonder what the VP of Safety is doing talking about efficiency. What I know is that in every business, there are elements that are aligned. And in my mind, in aviation, I'm very passionate about aviation safety, as everyone who is working in the aviation industry is. And I believe that efficiency, how well you execute on the mission and how consistent you are in that space, effectiveness, delivering what you've promised to the customer on time, and safety, so efficiency, effectiveness, and safety are all magnetically aligned. They run in parallel to one another and they're magnetically connected. So if you start taking shortcuts on efficiency, say by asking people to speed or run or not follow their procedures, then you might get away with it for a short period of time, but you won't get away with it for the longer period of time. And what ends up happening is those gaps in efficiency will lead to gaps in effectiveness and safety as well. Now, efficiency means you're going to ask people to do something different than what they do on a regular basis as part of their work practice. So a great book that helps to provide super information with regard to how you can motivate that change in behavior is called Switch. It's by Chip and Dan Heath, they're brothers, and the subtitle for the book is How to Change When Change is Hard. What Switch does is provide a framework so that you can think about change and understand how change happens in our brain, so that as you engage with people in your area, you can provide the mechanisms, you can understand the resistance they will naturally have to change, and you can help motivate them toward achieving the change you have in mind.
Making connections internally and externally helps gain success in collaboration. Bobbi gives her perspective on how to effectively collaborate and gain buy-in from all of those involved.
My strategy to achieve cross-functional collaboration is based on, first of all, getting to know people. You can't expect people to want to come to the table with you if you haven't made the effort to get to know them. I ask people where they're from, I ask them about their family, I ask them how long they've been as part of the organization, I ask them about things that are important to them. Many times when I do that, I find connections to those people that allow us to be able to have a relationship on a different level than if we didn't have that connection. That's particularly important because, of course, as you know, I'm new here at American Airlines. So for me, I'm the new person in most meetings, and I have to work harder to become part of the team. Now, for effective collaborations, I think it's also really important at the beginning to be very clear that collaboration doesn't mean we all get together in a room and we all agree. Most of the time, collaboration only happens after you come with your opinions, I come with my opinions, and we talk it out. We work to ensure that we find the best solution that takes into consideration your perspective and your experience as well as mine. Many times when you go through collaboration, it isn't that everybody's holding hands and singing Kumbaya. Most of the time it means that when people are disagreeing, they don't like one another very much during that period. But going through those difficult times and coming to a resolution means that there's not somebody just dictating what needs to be done. There's an agreement with people around the table on the direction that needs to go, that the organization needs to go, and buy-in from everyone, because everyone becomes invested in the solution.
Every industry needs a pipeline. How your organization develops it is by educating society and creating an environment that's welcoming where everyone feels valued. Bobbi shares her secret to building a talent pipeline, and you don't want to miss this.
Building a talent pipeline is particularly challenging in industries that are highly technical industries and are also very complex, like aviation. Unfortunately, what we're finding in aviation is that not every little girl and not every little boy is dreaming of coming to aviation to either fly around the world, be a pilot, be an aircraft mechanic, or whatever. The very best way to build that pipeline is to establish an industry or establish an organization that is welcoming to everyone. Now, we all know, or at least if you've traveled at all, you'll recognize that most people who are in aviation today are white males. Now, those are people who probably had some connection to aviation early in life and decided that this was an area they could be really passionate about. What I know about aviation is that there's this huge pipeline coming into the industry, this talent pipeline we have to fill. And even if every little boy of whatever color and background raises their hand who's interested in aviation and says they want to come on board and they're willing to walk that hard, that challenging path to seek a career in aviation, that pipeline is still only going to be about half full. So what has to happen for us is that we have to ensure that aviation is seen as an industry that is welcoming to little girls and women as well. Right now, we've built a system in aviation because of nearly 100 years of history of men participating, being the primary people who have been part of aviation. We've built a system that was designed by men for men, and it's no one's fault. It's just the reality of what happens when those people populate the organizations. What we have to do is change the system, and by changing the system, we create an environment where little girls and women see that they'd be welcome, see that they'd be valued, and understand and know that they have an opportunity to follow the career path that they're passionate about, and they have a chance to be successful. So in my mind, it's boiled down to ensure that you have an environment where people feel welcome, where they feel valued, and where they feel like they can make a difference. Then you're going to have people knocking down your door to come on board.
I'm sure you've all heard dress for the position that you want. Well, it's also true in leadership. Lead in any position that you are in. Show others who you believe you are. Practice being who you say that you are, and practice being who you admire. Think about those attributes that make a great leader and be that leader. Now, let's hear firsthand business advice on leadership from Bobbi Wells.
The very best business advice that I can give you in your journey, especially if you're aspiring to move into leadership or if you're in leadership and you're aspiring to move to higher levels of leadership, is that you should be thinking, behaving, and acting like the level you want to be at. So if you are an individual contributor and you want to move into a leadership position, then right now, today, be thinking of ways that you can display you're already in that leadership position. You all have opportunities to lead in meetings, lead with projects, even just lead around being innovative, being courageous, talking about opportunities that no one else in the room will talk about. A couple of times in my career recently, I've specifically hired people who had the courage to say what I knew everyone else in the room was thinking, but they were willing to pipe up and say what was on everyone's minds. Be the person you aspire to be. Find leaders you're exposed to and see what they do you admire. Make note of those things and then figure out how to make it part of your daily practice. One bit of advice I'd give you as you think about this program you're going through is going to give you 15 things that you can do better. Don't focus on 15 things. This isn't about boiling the ocean. It's about boiling a pot of water right in front of you. So choose one thing, be intentional about working on that one thing. Keep all the others on your list to work on going forward, but focus on one thing at a time. You can't possibly change 2 or 3 things, either in how you approach stuff or how you think about the world. Work very specifically on one thing at a time, and then as you start to gain momentum in that area, add another area of focus. As you all are thinking about the next step that you might want to take in your career, if you're given 2 or 3 options, or if there are 2 or 3 possibilities that are available to you, what I would suggest you do is look at all 3 of those possibilities, and whichever one of them scares you the most is what you need to do. It may feel like it's where you're the most exposed, and possibly it is where you're the most exposed. It probably is an area where you'll be taking more risk than something you're more comfortable doing. But growth comes from challenge. Growth comes from being uncomfortable. It's called growing pains for a reason. It's not growing fun. You have to be willing to step out and do things you're not completely sure you're going to be successful. Expose yourself in that way. Allow yourself the opportunity to grow. And I can guarantee you the people around you, the people who matter, will be there to support you and catch you if you trip. I promise you, if you fall down, you won't get broken. You learn by falling down, getting up again, and trying and growing from what you encountered so that you can be better next time. Leadership is hard, but it's also the very best job in the world.